All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Zenfolio Live. I'm Robert with Zenfolio Customer Support. I want to say thanks for joining us and hanging out with us today. Hey, if this is your first time hanging out with us, make sure you say hi to us in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from. And as always, we really appreciate you guys who come out here and hang out with us week after week on Zenfolio Live, whether you're hanging out with us on YouTube or you're hanging out with us on Zoom. Make sure you guys say hi to us. Let us know where you're watching from. Today, we're going to be talking about staying true to yourself while evolving your photography business. I can't believe I'm saying this. We got Lou Freeman hanging out with us today. She's going to be telling us some really great information, sharing a lot of knowledge. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about things like establishing yourself as a brand, evolving your business, strategic collaboration, and creating opportunity versus looking for opportunity. Hanging out with me today, taking care of you guys on YouTube and in Zoom, I've got Dennis hanging out with me again. So make sure you guys show Dennis some love. This is his second, I think this is your second live stream this week, Dennis. I've been putting him to work this week. So he's been doing a great job jumping on here and helping me out, answering questions and taking care of you guys. So again, make sure you show him some love in the chat. Just in the way of announcements, really quick, next week on Zenfolio Live, we're going to be talking about using packages to increase your sales. Also, if you missed it on Facebook, yesterday was our very first Wide Angle Wednesday. That is a monthly live stream that we're going to start doing every Wednesday on our Facebook page, where we have a panel of photographers. We do like a roundtable question and answer forum. We had a lot of fun. If you guys missed it, Friday, the video is going to go. Is it Friday? No, I'm sorry, not Friday. Monday, that video will go out on our YouTube channel, so you guys will get to check that video out. Friday, the video, the post photo shoot workflow Lightroom tutorial is going to come out. So tomorrow on our YouTube channel, look for that. I'm going to put up that, publish the post photo shoot workflow. It's a Lightroom tutorial. It's going to be the condensed version from the live stream. All right, if you guys are wondering, like, where can I find information on all of these upcoming trainings, all of the live streams that are going on, bookmark that page, zenfolio.com/community/events. I'm going to have Dennis throw that out in the chat for you guys as well. And then the last thing on the announcements today is, again, we continue to encourage you guys to share your photos, whether you're sharing them on Instagram or Facebook. Make sure that you're sharing them out there, using them to inspire people, to lift people up. And while you're doing that, use that hashtag Zenfolio Photographers for a chance to be featured on one of our social media platforms or on the Zenfolio Live intro, or maybe on Wide Angle Wednesday. Let's see, hanging out with us on YouTube, we've got Samuel Marshall from Chicago, Illinois, Doc Pixel Design and Photography. First time hanging out with us on YouTube. Hey, Doc Pixel, thanks for jumping on here and hanging out with us. Over on Zoom, I want to say hi to Brandy, Brian, Carolyn, Cindy, Earl, Jim, Joanna, Shaylin, Stan, and Tracy. And if you're watching on YouTube and you're like, hey, how can I get the Zoom link? If you look in the description below this video, there's actually a link where you can register for Zenfolio Live. You can also register for Wide Angle Wednesday to get the Zoom link for our monthly Wednesday hangout. Ignore the link for Site Review Tuesday. Sadly, last Tuesday was our last Site Review Tuesday. We're going to transition to doing site reviews as a kind of a monthly occurrence on Zenfolio Live. So we're not completely getting rid of live site reviews. We're just not doing them every Tuesday anymore. It's going to be a monthly thing that we're doing on Zenfolio Live. Okay, well, I think that I have talked enough. So let me introduce our guest today. She is a world-renowned Atlanta-based photographer specializing in commercial, glamour, wedding and beauty shots, portraits, headshots, and architecture photography. Plus, she's a live photographic workshop instructor. She's also a public speaker for Creative Live and motivational seminars. And she's also been featured on Creative Live and Kelby One photography workshops. She is an amazing person. I am super excited that she's hanging out with us today. Can you guys please give a warm welcome for Lou Freeman? And I'm going to let her turn on her camera. There we go. And let me unmute her really quick. There we go. You should be able to unmute yourself, Lou. There we go. How are you doing today, Lou?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
Thanks for all those awesome accolades. I really appreciate that.
You are an amazing photographer. We've been working together for, I don't know, a couple of years now here on Zenfolio. And And just every time I talk to you, you always have something going on. You're always constantly in the process of evolving your business. And when this topic kind of came up, and we were like, who can we talk to, especially right now with everything that's going on? Who would be somebody to bring on, good to bring on here and talk about evolving your business, but keeping kind of staying true to yourself? And immediately you were the first person I thought of. So I'm just so glad that you could take time out of your day to hang out with us. I swear you always have stuff going on. I think you run around with like a Superman symbol on your chest because every time we talk, like you're always starting something new.
I feel
Um,
like there's always a way to win, and I'm always looking for that, you know?
yes, yes, and that's one of the things that I love so much. You're such just inspiring to talk to you guys. Hey, as we're going through this, you guys, if you have questions for me or Lou, make sure you get those in the chat. Dennis is going to be relaying those questions to me. We are going to be answering questions, but really quickly, or not really quickly, you can take as much time as you want. Why don't you just kind of kick us off with what got you interested in photography to begin with?
Well, first person that ever shared a photo interest was my dad. And somehow I ended up being in front of his camera all the time when I was a little girl, and I was somewhat of a comedy child, and I was always posing, and I was always showing him cool ways to pose, and he was just getting into photography, and he would always take my picture and put me in all these crazy environments. And my dad worked at the airport, and he would take me there when I was a little girl as a part of doing his weekly close-ups and doing all his financial stuff, and he'd always bring his camera and take pictures of me out there. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. And somehow it was like somebody gave me that little tidbit, and I put it in the background of my file library of things I had been exposed to that were awesome. And then I went off to boarding school and got into writing for the Foxfire book at Raven Gap. And next thing I knew, I was in the darkroom making pictures that got published, and I was probably 14 maybe when that started. And so I knew it was in there, and I knew I wasn't afraid of it. And I just didn't know exactly how to make a living doing it. And later on, I went back to college and got a degree in photography, graphic design, and became a designer and a photographer. But I didn't go to school for that. I went there to be a landscape architect, and somehow photography fell as an offering in there. And I stopped in the middle of my path and changed what I was doing because I knew I had the bug and I couldn't stop. So
Wow, that's a great story. Do you remember the first photograph that you took that was kind of like, wow, that photograph that kind of changes our perception of, when we're just kind of dabbling around, like, wow, this is really something that I really want to pursue.
I would say it was, I've always loved nature and gardening and landscaping. So, of course, the first thing I did was photograph really unusual textures and colors and unusual muted colors and textures, not just like a red rose or a pink tulip. And I still like doing that. And I like the artistry from nature and capturing that. I think it's because I talk so much every day for my photography that I do. Sometimes that silent process is kind of cathartic for me. I like to go in the woods and photograph, nature and things like that. Really cool ferns that I find when I'm out hiking and things like that.
Nice.
But that's never gone away since I was a little girl till now. So
Yeah, I was thumbing through your Instagram photos and I caught a glimpse of the macros that you had posted up of the flowers, and I hadn't saw those before. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet, you can find Lou's website and her Instagram in the description below the video if you're on YouTube. If you're hanging out with us on Zoom, I will get those links to you guys in the chat, or if Dennis wants to grab them from the description of the YouTube video, he can throw them in the Zoom chat for you guys. So went through college, and when was there an instance, or you said it kind of fell in your lap, so was there something that happened where you really thought like, okay, I love doing photography, I'm fairly good at it, or really good at it. Sometimes we're a little bit harder on ourselves than other people are. What kind of put it in your mind of, I really want to pursue this as my career?
well, since you asked me that question, I just started thinking back to the beginning when I graduated from school and I was laboring over whether to take a job. I was a 60s kid, and my parents grew up in the get a job with plenty of benefits and keep it all your life mode. And I knew that there was more to it than I was being exposed to at such an early game. But I went ahead and accepted a job at an ad agency as a designer and assistant to a photographer. And I got into the job, and I was really worried about my happiness there because I was going to be in a 5 by 10 cubicle. And I was really thinking maybe I won't last at this for a year or more. And about 3 weeks into my process, my boss quit and they gave me his job. And I was flattered and blown away at the same time. And I think maybe he knew, and I didn't know when I was walking into it, that they picked me for whatever reason. But when I started into that, I started realizing about 3 months into it that I had a hunger to say something with my images, not just take pretty pictures, but to make a statement about whatever the topic was. It was almost like I had that editorial style of instinct built in. And I always felt like I could really do something great. And some of the neatest, and I'm not just great once in my life, but with every picture, I tried to go at it with that attitude. And I tried to make every person or thing I was photographed look or feel or think that they were significant to me. So when I started really shooting people, it made a huge difference how they respected me, because I treated them all like they were the only person that I was shooting. And I think they walked away feeling that. But when I was in the first job, I realized that I had some opportunities to take public kind of editorial moments where you either raise money or for a certain, group or thing, or to make a difference in advertising to art in the public eye on these signs I was designing. And I got really into it, and I was working in an all male environment, and I was afraid of the crowd. So I kind of self-published and created all these ideas to bring nature into the forefront on what you normally consider signage and just repetitive crap that people see. And these signs were moved all over the city and the state of Georgia. And I ended up winning an advertising Obie award and an Addy for the design and the statement that was made in the photography. And it was like within the first 6 months of me getting that job. And it was really, I was like, I'm going to go get this. I'm going to go do this. I want this. I want to see this happen. I want to make a difference. And I had all of that going on. And I'm going to call it a hunger, because it really was. I didn't want to be sucked into a yes person. And I found a way to shine in that arena. And then all of a sudden, all the mistrust and the doubt backed off of me, and they started giving me every big opportunity they could. And they talked about me to their clients that they were selling advertising to. We could do this. We've got this great person in house. And I saw the more that I tried to do things that were compelling and unique, it allowed me to really step up and be more in a current way of thinking. Everyone was 25 years older than me at the job, and somehow I felt like I brought some freshness there. And I worked really hard, long hours, self-motivated, to get that stuff done, even when I really didn't have to. I could have just done the job, don't walk through the walk, but I took it on myself to just really try to get something out there that was significant in every situation. And I try to live my life like that, like every day. Even if I have to vacuum the floor in my studio, I have to put some sort of action or motivation and love into it, so that moment is just as important as you coming in for an interview with me for a shoot or something like that.
Absolutely. You said some really great things, and I want to kind of highlight. So you talked about you were in a man's environment. You were also much younger than the people around you. And so obviously putting yourself in that kind of situation, there was a lot of character development going on. I feel like there was a lot of
There
learning.
was.
Can you talk a little bit about that and what that was like?
Yes. And, that kind of went on for a while. I think now in photography, there's a lot more women than there were when I was in it initially. And I would go to all these, meetings and groups and things like that were about photography and artists. And there was like one woman other than myself there. And I kind of zoomed along in my career and went from working in my job there. I got to the place where I could do as much as I felt I could do there. And I felt like I might be able to make more money if I left that environment. And how could I go from this full-time job and step out on my own? And I basically took on another job. So I had 3 jobs, and I worked at the camera store on the weekend. I worked as a waitress 2 days a week during the day at the beginning after I gave up the full-time job. And then I opened a small studio at the same time. So those 2 jobs paid for all my bills. So all I had to do was go there and motivate and get people to come to see me and shoot with me. But to answer your question more strategically, when I got back to the office, I was constantly having to check myself to make sure I wasn't too sexy, that I was getting the point across, and I was always focused on the work, and sometimes it wasn't always focused that way toward me. So I had to steer myself out of the glamorous side of things while I was in those environments, and really, wear my hair in a ponytail, dress really simply and elegantly. And I became focused on learning how to speak to people to get them to follow my ideas. I took classes and all kinds of programs on how to lead people and things like that. And it always helped me because I had to be able to walk into a room and speak to people that I didn't know, and somehow in a matter of minutes learn everything I could about them and get them to trust me, whether it was a man or a woman. And I was probably in about the 3rd or 4th year of my business, and the opportunity for me to shoot for Playboy came along. And the very first thing they said was, "Do you have a problem doing this kind of photography?" And I was like, "No, not at all. I haven't. But my work goes from high fashion to glam. But I'm not, just that whole genre in and of itself is something I hadn't focused on bringing on in my life." And I caught a lot of guff about the fact that I even considered to do it. I was worried my commercial clients and my department store people, my fashion people might have an issue with it. And so there were men I'd interview and ask them what they thought. And then I'd ask my parents, I'd ask my sisters who were much older than I was, and I'd ask people who were important to me, like a Miss Georgia or Miss America, and ask what they thought. And they were like, "Well, we don't know that you need to do this. You're zooming along with your career so well, and you're already doing all these things self-motivated, and you don't have any kind of problem." And I was like, I just feel like if I take this challenge on, it will forever change me, and maybe for the rest of my life in a positive way. I think that I can look back on that time and have a positive, maybe turning point in my learning from the experience. And ultimately that's what happened. But the downside was I had to constantly prove myself that I could shoot women in a sensuous, sexy, alluring kind of way. And my mom told me, she said, you might want to think about how you're going to answer that question of the kind of photography you'd want to do. I said, I promise you I'll always take the elegant, ladylike glamour way, like the movie star kind of way. And that's what I set out to do. And it was a challenge in the beginning. I thought I knew a lot about photography when I got involved in that. I had to change. And it was like, I didn't know that I wanted to change, but when I did, and I could learn to see the light in the way that they were known for, and then I could do it, it suddenly empowered me in a way with all my other jobs, all my other commercial clients, all the people I was shooting. They'd come and shoot for me for the magazine. They turn around, come back and shoot with me again and again for regular jobs, or even hire me themselves to build their own portfolio so they could get other things. So I kind of took something that could be potentially negative and made it into something really awesome. There was never a time I felt uncomfortable while I was doing it or awkward. Maybe the very first time or two I was real nervous, but we were shooting normal, real people, you know, that had never or may not have been in front of the camera before. And some had been in the magazine many times. But probably the biggest fear I had was hoping that they would find that my work fit their model and that they'd keep me there. And I managed to do that for like 14 years. Not every day, but it was a regular, you know, punch income for me all through my 14 years and then around my other commercial work. And sometimes I do it even more so if I was in a location, like I used to go to Miami a lot and shoot for them, and go to football stadiums and things like that, or homes to the ocean, to Mexico, to Maui, to wherever I ended up going. But it was always fun and always a challenge at the same time, because you never knew who was going to walk in the door.
That's such an interesting story. And what I love about everything that you've said so far is I think so much in life we get used to taking the path of least resistance.
Mhm.
And everything that you're talking about is kind of the opposite of that. And I really think that's where we develop our character, and we really find out the true sense of who we are. I mean, if you can take some of the hardest things that you go through, even if they're horrible experiences, and if you can always look for the lesson in there, I think you can always come out on top of things or
I
better than you
agree.
were before when you went through that.
You know, I said
Um,
there's always a way to win. If you could look at every scenario you're presented with, especially a negative time frame like what we've been going through, where it's like you feel like every time you turn your car to go down some avenue, either creatively or to make money, there's a roadblock. You've got to figure out what your elements of assets are and where could you go. And if you look at, I will not fail, I've got to find something, there's got to be some awesome in here. And if you keep telling yourself that, and even if you have to put little stickers all around your computer or in, you know, your favorite place where you go do research, dig deeper, try harder, try to bring something to now, you will allow it to come forth. And, you know, in the stillness of those months we were not working, I found myself developing areas that I felt I was the weakest in. I did a lot of help with people who were not computer savvy enough on their own computers, and they didn't realize they were in places of not being as productive as they could be. And I really found that I got a lot of charge out of doing that. And so if I couldn't meet with them, I could at least talk to them in a similar way that we are. And I did a lot of teaching in ways that I didn't realize I could do to help other people. And then that has built relationships that are just keep going. So your relationships and the strengths that you build with your clients or your bosses or your team. Let's say you have teams that you work with, like let's say there's hair and makeup, or there's a videographer that works alongside with you to capture things. You know, there's always times when you feel like you're at a standstill, you know, right after Christmas between then and about the 15th of January. Those, by the time I get to that date, I've already made all my plans. It's just executing them. I try to do my plans by the end of October for the next year so that I roll out with it ready, and trying to be looking back at my work, what needs to come down, what needs to come out, what can I do to sound more excited about what I'm doing, that I can write about in my blogs. Or do I hire somebody that's an amazing writer to do 4 or 5 blogs for me every month in a third person and publish them somewhere else so that it can keep bringing energy back to you?
Can we talk about that for a second? Because I
Sure.
love that idea, because I think I know personally writing blogs is one thing that I struggle with. I mean, I'm a photographer. I love taking photos. I love visual things. Text and writing and typing to me is not something that I just wanted to get up and do. And you brought up an interesting point of hiring a writer, and I think um, definitely that is something that I had never thought of approaching it from that angle of actually hiring somebody to write your blogs. And I'm sure you could even work it out as a barter system. I'm sure there are
Yep.
writers who need
Yep.
headshots. Can you talk a little bit about when you started doing that? How has it worked for you, and maybe
Well,
how you've kind of got linked up with those writers to help you?
one of the neatest things that happened to me over the last 6 years is I Was on the road a lot doing workshops. I partnered with Lindsay Adler and we did the Look Fabulous tour. And I've gone around all the PPA schools. I've gone literally all over the country doing that. And also speaking at conventions and things like that in New York, in LA, and in Las Vegas. And when I did those things, I had the opportunity to come across people who had not been familiar with a photographer that produces the kind of work that I do. I don't fit into one simple genre. I've tried to keep versatile, so there's always a paycheck coming. And I always have known who I am inside as an artist, and I try to come off like anyone could come and talk to me, but I want to also come off that I really know my stuff. And so I try to keep a confident but calm persona. And when I've been in different arenas where I've met people at magazines or they hire freelance writers to write about me, I have really enjoyed watching how they formulate their ideas to write something about me. And whether it's a paragraph or 3 or 4 pages in a magazine, you want to look at yourself as a brand, as I'm not saying compare yourself to Kim Kardashian or something like that, but if you have a look and a style, if you and your husband and wife work together and you're a team and the two of you make the most amazing captures together, you already have a story. You can start writing a blog if you've not ever done this by writing an outline like you did for a 5-paragraph thing. It could be even shorter than that. You can say, okay, today I'm going to talk about headshots, but I'm only going to direct it to this certain person or this certain style of person. And let's say you've decided you're going to go for some kinds of annual reports to get all those headshots, which is an amazing business model. To have something written about you, illustrating your work in an editorial sense, whether it's been published or not, is an excellent way to look at that. You could take your business and break it down into the areas of the topics that you want to drive business from the public to you. And then you can make your lists, break that down, just use words, start with your words, then you can find a way to talk about what you want in each thing. So then you already have an outline. Then you're going to decide if you want to spend money doing that, writing it or having somebody write it, or if you think you can, or you know someone who can, start somewhere. But I would never go without blogging at least once or twice a month. And the more you write in the blog and the more photos you and videos you assume in that position, the better opportunity you're going to have for people to see your work. And then social marketing it as much as you can to drive traffic to your site. And the words are part of your SEO. So the more you talk about yourself, it gives you a chance to enlighten the search engines who you are and make yourself easier to find and on the top of the list. And the more you write, the more you type, the better you're going to get at driving traffic. And at that same point, the thing that I see that drives me the craziest when people tell me they're not working is the lack of proper naming and captions and descriptions of the photographs, whether they're making their business live half on one social marketing site and half on their website. Everything has to be on your website. The social marketing will help bring it back to that. So, and I can tell anybody more about that in the longer meeting because it's really hard to put that into specifics unless you know the person. But the best way to attain attention is writing. So, and if you can't write, you don't have time to write. You can't clear the path from the babies and the lawn mowing and the 2 jobs you have, then you need to find somebody, at least in the beginning, that can help you do it as often as you can possibly do it.
There's usually almost always somebody willing to barter services. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's somebody just like you who are just starting their business, who are trying to get their name out there, and they're looking for
Right.
exposure, and they need photography, and you need somebody to write for you. So it's definitely a great way to kind of do some strategic collaboration with somebody, and that would benefit you both. So since we're kind of talking about blogs and about websites, and you kind of hit on this a little bit, but just how important is it these days to actually have a website? I know there's lots of people who try to do their business just on social media, whether it's through Instagram or through Facebook. And so just interested in what your thoughts are on the importance of actually having a physical website.
I think it's probably the most important thing that you can do beyond a shadow of a doubt, other than buying your cameras and getting your desk in order and learning Photoshop and all of those things. But if you don't have, if you can look at your website as a storefront, let's say you downsized during the past couple of months and you said, I just can't do the brick and mortar thing. I can't take on sharing either. I've got to pull back until all this is done. You could at least take your website and just blow it completely out with amazing design and wonderful new photography. If you don't have the time on your hands to redo everything, you could at least put a new wrapper on it, which is a new template, or change up the way it looks, make some slideshows, reorganize, push through the situation that we have at hand, and just keep digging to have a way to get those images shown. So like once you get your storefront done and you have your store working for you, it's like having a whole employee there to take money, put it, you have to check it, you have to organize it, you have to remind to talk to people, but you can pretty much automate this websites that Zenfolio offers to do almost anything you want. And it's allowed me not to have somebody sitting here every day for long periods of time. And I've gotten into it so much that I love working on it. It's fun, it's clean, it's well organized. I can find everything. I probably have too much in there, but I like any other woman, I like to rearrange the furniture. So I'm always in there changing it, cleaning it up, taking stuff down, adding new things, send letters from there. I use it for all it's possible to be used for. And then I use my social media to bring you back there. I don't put pictures right on the social media. I put them from a link in my website they'll click there and go, there they are at my website. So the goal is for traction to happen. And once they get in there, they're much more likely to push the I want to buy something button as opposed to scrolling down your picture on a social page. So you have to think about what you're doing now in a little bit more organized fashion. And you can get your self out in front of people more than 7 to 10 times. Paid advertising, same thing. I have a little path of what I do with that. I market in different ways to different groups of people. So even then, not everybody sees all of the ads just constantly flowing. But my website has been the best thing that I've ever fully developed. And I used to have somebody do it for me, and I paid them to do all the work. And it was never bringing me what I thought it should have brought. The dollars weren't reaching, in my opinion, what I had to show for it with my celebrities and all that. So once I really got into working on my website with the Zenfolio thing, I really learned how to write the SEO, why it was so important, how to manipulate my all my different kinds of work so it could be on a page, so I don't have issues with people finding me. And there's so much stuff in there, you can kind of halfway start to type my name now and I come up. So I think that's the goal, is to take advantage. Zenfolio's gone to all this trouble to make something that photography can totally understand. And there's parts of it that not every photographer might need to work on. Like I probably never get to use the yearbook feature, but there's probably some photographers that's the ultimate for them. So my thing is portraits and weddings and glamour and beauty and everything that revolves around that. And there's a lot of worker bee people that come to me constantly, and they're always looking for something new. So that's another reason why you want to keep showing. And then I private send links to these new books I make. So it's pretty much the center of the universe here. for me.
Absolutely. And guys, I do see your questions. We're going to get to Q&A here in a second. I've got a couple more questions that I want to get Lou's take on, but keep putting your questions in the chat. We are going to get to those here in just a little bit. We're going to take a break in a second, but since you mentioned it, let's do some name dropping really quick. Who's your favorite celebrity that you've ever photographed?
Jamie Foxx.
JB Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I hear he's really like a genuinely nice person in person as well.
He is, and he's really sophisticated and very intelligent and very mannerly when he gets on set. But my attitude of what can I do with this and how can we make this awesome? He actually said that to me when we started working together, and I was like, this is the strangest thing I've ever heard anybody say. These words were like in my head, and I went to a lot of trouble to make him feel like he was important. And I have never laughed so hard my entire life without someone saying a word. He is just a character and so out of control with his wit in so many different ways. So he was probably one of the most fun people that I've ever photographed. Like, he's extraordinarily handsome and then really funny and not worried about the fact that he could be a nerd at any moment or just a total goofy, crazy looking kind of guy. I mean, he just is like I don't know, he's like capable of so many things. And so that was a photo shoot for me that for so many reasons, I don't think I'll ever forget. And we ended up shooting the simplest of clothes, and I had everything there that money could buy to bring for him to shoot in and with, and he was in spectacular shape. So it was really fun. I got to spend all the time I could doing as much as I possibly could for the guy. It was like he didn't want to stop, and neither did I. So when the day ended, it was like a magic picture moment for me. It was like being in a roller coaster the whole morning, the whole day.
It's like one of those moments where you just can instantly connect with somebody and it just like everything goes. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So really quick, I want to get, and then we're going to take a break. I'll have Dennis come on here in a second, but with everything that's going on right now with COVID, with just everything that we're going through right now, we have a lot of new photographers coming into photography as well. If you could get everybody coming into photography to sit down and listen to you for a few minutes, what one piece of advice would you give brand new photographers just getting started in their business?
Never give up. That's the first thing. Never give up. Never meet a stranger. Buy your cameras. Don't rent them. Keep your gear turned over and fresh so it doesn't become a brick and not worth anything and obsolete. If you use good cameras and good lighting and good technical sound products, you will be perceived as successful, even if you're struggling along and just getting your boat paddling up the stream. They teach that in medical, they teach that in dentists, they teach that everywhere you go. So the other thing is to keep every relationship that you build, try to make sure that everybody stays happy with you personally. Don't get too close to your clients. Don't cross the boundaries anywhere there. Just keep it professional. Always do more than what they expect you to every time, no matter what. When people ask you to do a favor, give you something for free, always say, that's something I do for my clients that have been with me for a long time. I don't start out giving my work for free. So you have to value yourself. You don't have to sound like you're egotistical and over the top and arrogant, but you have to be prideful of your work and yourself. And you have to consider they're the person. If they're going to constantly ask for free things, you might want to let them just pass you by because it's not worth it. And then you'll hate yourself. So focus, keep things in a moderate price. And as you get more and more famous and more booked, you can slowly start raising your prices. But you have to remain valid and important and doing things photographically that are modern looking. try not to get settled in your ways and keep some, this old fallback plan on this typical lighting that you've done that's not exciting. You want to keep evolutionizing so that you're always right now on fire, awesome, hot, cool. Everybody wants to see what you've been doing. And that's when you're going to be the most successful at writing and showing your book also, because you're going to get there and go, look what I just did. And when you come in with that kind of an attitude, everybody wants to have some of that, especially right now. If you're like, oh, I had all this time and I came up with these ideas and I made these things and I've been taking my visions and doing something with them. And then boom, there you are with your idea and not copying what everybody else is doing. Same thing, same background, same dresses, same lighting, same thing. I've always tried to do something just a little bit different.
Love it. What I love is the constant theme that I get from you is push yourself to be uncomfortable and
Mhm.
do more. And Sarah on YouTube is agreeing with you. She's like, "Amen. Don't get too close to your clients." I agree to that. Definitely let them consider you a friendly acquaintance, but we're not best friends. We're not like
Right.
always hanging out. I'm not into doing you a lot of favors. We might do something that's mutually beneficial. Like I
Mhm.
might take your photos if you're writing my blog for me or something like that, but you're not my mom or my family that I'm going to go and get
Mhm.
suckered into doing family photos for every Christmas and hate every second of it.
If you get too close to them, your business will fall flat with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're going to let Dennis jump on here and talk to everybody for a few minutes. Lou and I are going to take a quick break. We'll be back to answer your questions. So, guys, if you have questions for Lou, get those in the chat. If you have questions for me, get them in the chat as well. We're going to go till 3 and answer questions. So, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Dennis is going to jump on and say hi, and then Lou and I will be back.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Robert. And hello, everyone. I'm Dennis with Zenfolio Customer Success. Welcome and thank you all for hanging out with us for this week's episode of Zenfolio Live, where we're featuring photographer Lou Freeman. Lou, thanks for joining us and reminding us the importance of staying true to ourselves with our work and our business. Lou, thank you for sharing your experiences and that advice. Everyone joining us, if you have any questions for Lou or any Zenfolio related questions for Robert or myself, please enter them into chat and we'll be able to get answers to you live. So if you're joining you using YouTube, enter them in chat. If you're on Zoom, you can use that Q&A button to send us your questions. Also, check out our events calendar at zenfolio.com/community/events to see the schedule of upcoming events, including our group trainings, our wide angle Wednesdays. You'll also learn about those. Where we invite guests and members of the Zenfolio team to engage in roundtable discussions the first Wednesday of every month. So those are really going to be exciting to offer. So please join us for that. And before I hand it off back to Robert, thanks again, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate it. Join us again next week for Zenfolio Live, when we'll discuss using packages to increase the sales as a landscape photographer. So that should be a really great topic to join us for. And back to you, Robert.
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Let me get Lou back on and we'll get back to going here. Let's see here. There we go. All right. Okay. Did you get some tea, Lou? I have some, I forget what kind of tea I have today,
I'm
but
having
it's,
water.
oh, that's, look, what is it? Is it LaCroix, right?
Yes, I like fizzy water.
Yes.
I like infused water. I try to drink a gallon of water during the day. And then I'll have a little tea in the afternoon. So,
Yes, hydration is so important, you guys. If you are not staying hydrated, I don't know how I survived as a kid because I swear all I drink was Kool-Aid and Mountain Dew. But now I drink. I have this cup. It's like as big as my head, so you can imagine how giant that cup is. And I drink like 4 of those a day, which I think is about a gallon of water a day. So yeah, hydration is so important, you guys, especially you guys who are going out in the field and stuff. If you're going out in the field and you know, out on the trails and stuff, make sure that you stay hydrated. Let's see. We had a lot of people talking in the chat, especially about the idea of hiring a blogger. So Pro Exposure Photography said, what a great idea is. It is so hard to write about yourself and bring the excitement to the text that people want to read. So hiring a writer is an amazing idea. I saw somebody else, Corey Wood said, that's a great tip to hire a blogger, which I totally agree. Again, writing is not my thing at all.
Well, nobody wants to hear you say, I've done this and I've done that and I'm great and I made, you know, $50,000 on this and I've this and I that. And it's better to be written about in the third person. A third person can talk about you like you're a rock star, even if you're, you know, on your 15th wedding and you've got, you know, accolades and it looks like you're getting some momentum. You never want to exaggerate the truth to falsehood, but you want to describe it in a way that's coveted and people want to have it. And that
Yes.
word is something that you can kind of put in your head. How can I make myself appear that way? So, you know, it's better when I read my resume and when it says Lou Freeman, you know, went to college here, she's accomplished this. And that's, you know, instead of saying I went to this extreme, you know. So anything you can do that can editorialize is the best way to describe that, yourself and your business and your work, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Up close on YouTube. Hey, thanks for jumping on here and hanging out with us. Okay, this is a question from Doc Pixel Design and Photography. They said, on my homepage, I want to replace the grid with a custom table of images, but I still want to keep the links and the logo and the welcome message. Is that possible? So it definitely is possible, Doc. I will show you that really quick. Let me share my screen. 1 second. Let me get my screen share up here. So if you guys didn't know, you can actually use custom pages as your homepage here in Zenfolio. So if you haven't checked out custom pages yet, definitely go check them out. If you're like, I don't even know how to do a custom page. Do I have to do coding? You can do coding. You don't have to. We have some tools in there for you. There are lots of videos on our YouTube channel that cover custom pages. So you guys that are on Zoom, if you head over to YouTube after this is over and you look on Zenfolio's YouTube channel, you just type in custom pages. There's probably at least 5, 6, 7 videos that will come up. But Doc, what you want to do is you want to create that page however you want to have it set up in the custom pages. And you can get to custom pages right here by just going to website and custom pages. After you build that custom page, you need to set it as your home page. And this is the part that a lot of people don't realize that they can do. So in your website, if you just hover over your name in the top right corner and you click on account, you can actually go right down here to website and you can click on homepage. And this is where you can actually designate a different page to be your homepage other than your Zenfolio default homepage. So you can come right down here and you can say, okay, I want to use one of the custom pages that I built as my homepage. And then you can hit this little drop down and all the custom pages that you have created will be in that drop down. So it's just a matter of getting that custom page built the way you want and then assigning that as your homepage. So that might be the best route for you to take. Again, there should be a lot of videos on our YouTube channel that will kind of cover creating custom pages and that kind of stuff. Okay, let's see. This one is from Robert DeSosa. He says, apart from easier non-destructive editing, is there any resolution advantages, file size advantages between a RAW converted to a JPEG versus just a shooting in JPEG? I'm going to defer that one to you, Lou. Do you know if there are any advantages to that or not?
I always prefer to manipulate all my files. You know, your raw file is going to have every pixel of color and the depth and the breadth of every color available. If you shoot in JPEG only, you're going to get every third pixel. Are you following me there?
Mm-hmm.
So you're throwing 30% of the information away by shooting a JPEG, and you're really not getting the full Monty. I don't even shoot RAW and JPEG at the same time. I shoot RAW and RAW. I choose my pictures, I make my TIFFs after my simple adjustments, and then I retouch from there and get rid of the RAW after that, unless I'm shooting something for an edit to make a collage or a composite photograph of some sort. So I shoot everything in RAW. It's a lot of, if you've got a good camera, you're going to take up a lot of room on a storage device, but the goal is to pick what you want, and you have to be passionate about the edit. And I'm not talking about, do I like it or not? I'm talking about, is this a 10 or is it not? Is this going to be a published shot or not? And you don't need to keep all the other images, because 99% of the time, no one ever goes back to the old images unless there's something that needs to be copied and added to in a composite. So the first thing I do with every shoot, every wedding, everything, is to narrow down the playing field. And then I get rid of the things I'm not going to keep. Once I make the TIFFs and I start the reprocessing of that to retouch and making my albums or making my, what I'm going to show the client, the final thing is to make a JPEG to show them as a low resolution. Have I retouched a JPEG? Yes. Have I had to retouch a JPEG? Yes. But is it the optimum thing to do? No. You really want the meat, all the meat and the potatoes and the gravy and everything that your file can give you, which is in a RAW, a properly exposed RAW.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with that. 9 times out of 10, I'm shooting in RAW. The only time I might shoot in JPEG or RAW and JPEG is if I'm doing some really quick turnaround real estate shots and I'm inside controlling the light.
Right. Right.
And I know
it's never going to be bigger than a certain size, and you've got to give it to them immediately, and there's not going to be a lot of editing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this one is to you. This is from Lloyd Gray on YouTube. He says, to keep equipment fresh before it becomes too outdated and worth little is great advice. I totally agree. I wish somebody had told me that a couple of years ago, because I'm stuck with some stuff that's worth more to keep than to sell, but it's not really what I want kind of situation. But his question is, what I do not understand is, how are you able to tone your beauty? So I'm not sure exactly what the question is. Maybe looking for some beauty lighting tips. Is that what you're getting at, Lloyd? Let us know in the chat. But if you want to start out talking about maybe some beauty lighting tips, we can.
Well, the first thing I do when I shoot a beauty shot is I look at the person's shape face really closely. Are they angled? Are they slender? Are they round? Do they have a short neck? And then I start to ask myself how I can be flattering to that person. There's not like a cookie cutter light situation that works on everybody. There are some people that require less and some people that require more. Some people you can put, a flashlight up and they look amazing every single time with no makeup on. So we've all had that person, but we've all had that person with the funny nose and the crooked, eyelid or in an uneven face, or they need some help through here. So for me, the makeup is key. If they're not wearing great makeup, I almost wish they didn't wear any, because then I can get in there and start manipulating what they look like with that. But I prefer to try to make everyone look as great as I can. So if I can control it in the front end and the styling and the hair and the makeup, that gives me a head start in the right direction. If I have someone that's got, a real, like a lot of fullness through here, which happens, to mature people or a lot of people that might have they get a little bigger here, it shows even in their face through here. So I'll ask the makeup artist to do a little contour, give me an edge that I can grab onto so I can make shadow my friend to push something back. Highlight comes forward, shadow goes back. So if I'm trying to recede a certain area, I'm going to put shadow there. So the lighting I use for beauty and glamour, if it's hard lighting, I usually want a harder, heavier makeup. If it's the softer, more natural, open shade, or I'm using bigger soft boxes, or I've got some ambient light that I'm just sort of moving around with a reflector. Sometimes I'll use a softer light for that.
Nice.
So I look at everybody as how pretty is this person and what can I do for them to make them better? And then the beauty comes without a lot of over softening, but with individual cleaning up, you know. And once I have one image of the person, I can repeat that on multiple images of them. So
nice, very great. And he did clarify in the chat. So he was actually giving you a compliment. He said, "How did you tone down your beauty?" Is what he said.
Oh my gosh.
So
back in the day, I was my job, probably that subject I brought up. And this happened to me when I moved to New York City when I was young, in my 20s. I would wear my hair back in a ponytail or up in a bun. And I had kind of a uniform of black slacks that I could move in. And I always dressed a little bit nicer than people dress now. And as an artist, I always wore slacks and kind of a pretty top, but it was always smooth, simple, and kind of close fitting to my body. And my shoes were always important. To me, that's the worst thing when people walk into let's say you got a job shooting a fashion magazine and you go in there and you're wearing shoes that you wore to mow the grass, you know, it's just not cool. It doesn't give you a cool factor. You have to look cool to be cool and perceived as cool. Because a lot of times you're going to work with people and you've never seen them before. But toning things down means to less glam. Yeah.
Less glam, love it. This is from Pro Exposure Photography. It says, Lou, do you select images for your website to draw the kinds of clients you want to your favorite images?
Absolutely. And then I have my setup of, holy mackerel, how'd you do that? And what's that all about? Where did that idea come from? So in my field of what I've been able to do, the wild pictures bring the clients and they legitimize I can produce art. They might end up shooting a rack of 1,000 Hanes t-shirts with me. And it needs to look like, you know, all America, red, white, and blue. But they might pick me because of these photos they saw in the conceptual portrait section. And that's happened to me so many times that I always keep that wow factor kind of going. The lifestyle part of my book has always provided an income stream for me. My headshots since I got started, always, always, always. I've never tried to be the cheapest. I've just tried to be the best, the most interesting. Give somebody, take 60 photographs and give them 20 pictures that would bring them a booking or money or get them a job. You have to think like that. And once you show all those, from the movie star looking person all the way down to the average looking person, it comes across really terrific. And you capture something in them. Those are the kind of things that are going to bring people to you to hire you. Sometimes people have to recognize themselves in other images on your site too, to book themselves. Like, she shoots the kind of look I have, or she or he can capture that I'm a, historian, or let's say a military man has won all kinds of accolades, that super uber feminist kind of, not feminist, or feminine sort of, I use department store looks sometimes to describe fashion looks or lighting looks, and like a free people kind of thing is not going to get a booking for somebody that's in the military and won all kinds of awards. You have to show them strong portraits. So
yes.
if you don't want to put a book together that has nothing to do with reality, if you're going to have a couple portfolios, they need to be close in similarity in the beginning. And then as your career grows, people will know you for this certain genre that they keep booking you for. Then you might could stick something else in there that's off that path. But you want to keep your SEO kind of tight in the beginning to keep, and that's with your photographs and the story you're being telling and the words, so everybody can get to you any which way they type in, even if they're not a good Googler or a good person at finding you or typing in the right kind of query, they can find you. So you have to think about that. also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one more question, and then I'm going to let you kind of close this out with some final thoughts. This one is from John on Zoom. He says, do you upload JPEGs or do you upload TIFFs?
It depends on what I'm doing with that link.
Yep.
I don't load up my website, even though I have lots of space on it, with my TIFFs, except in the portfolios that are mine. If I only made TIFFs, kept TIFFs, never made a JPEG, then that's what goes in there for my portfolio. But for the most part, my clients, it's always a size resolution that they can view, medium to lower res, and then all the TIFFs are maintained for me somewhere else. However, when I travel, like let's say I go to Maui and I stay a month, and I've got 4 or 5 different shoots rocking and rolling, I might have 3 or 4 folders in there underneath, let's say I'm shooting Dennis and his girlfriend or something before I go, and I know he's going to call while I'm gone, and I might need some help making the prints because I'm on vacation. I'll go ahead and put the TIFFs in a folder and the JPEGs that I made and their documents from their agreement with me. So I can kind of remember what we discussed and that they might be ordering wall prints or this or that. And that way I can go on my phone and look down in there and see, yeah, I've got that TIFF. I can go ahead and order a print from that, a wall size print. Or I could maybe have somebody work on it for me, and I could send it out to have a service person do it for me if I can't or don't want to deal with it while I'm on vacation. Nice. So I use my website like a giant file drawer. I have older previews of things I did for the past, 6 months to a year. And then I have the top previews all in one section. And then I make a master folder. Like let's say Dennis came and shot with me by himself 3 times. Then he came back and had girlfriend portrait, then he got a wedding, and then he came back and got a new headshot, and then he came back. You want to keep all that stuff together because it just makes it easier when you scroll down to go to Dennis Master and open that up, and inside that folder, it just like you would in organizing your archives or your for your if you're going to put something on a drive or on any kind of a storage thing online, you want to be able to access the stuff easily and be able to pull down exactly what you want. So
absolutely. And I would agree. For me, uploading, it depends on what I'm uploading for. Usually if it's a client who's purchasing prints and I don't need anything really crazy big, then most of the time I will go with JPEG files. Mm-hmm. Usually the only time I upload TIFFs is if it's like a personal project that I'm working on where I really want that TIFF file, but most of the time I do JPEGs. I want to answer a question for Doc Pixel Design on photography really quick. He says he's having an issue with his mobile site, something about when he clicks the grid and it goes to an image that's black with no buttons or links. So Doc, without actually looking at it, what I would say is that if you have any kind of domain masking on your site, it can really make the mobile site behave really weird and kind of erratic. And so what I would encourage you to do is to take a screenshot of that behavior that you're seeing on your phone, and then go into your Zenfolio account, hit that little chat button on the bottom right, send the support team that screenshot, send them the link that you're going to when you get that, and then just let them know what device you're on and let them take a look at it. They will be able to help you out with that and see what's going on for sure. So just reach out to the support team. They are amazing. I know we're over time, you guys. I didn't want to cut Lou off. She's got some amazing stuff. So Lou, any final thoughts that you want to kind of leave everybody with before we kind of close out the meeting?
Let's see. While you're in a contemplative state and we've had slower than normal activities and the world has so much negativity, it's really important that you get out from your desk, out from the phone, leave the phone off, put it somewhere else away from you, and go get in your car and drive out to the woods and get one with nature and try to ask yourself to see what you want to do next, because it's a time that has been given to you to take advantage of. And I go out every morning, 7:30 in the morning, and I leave everything away from me. And I try to listen to wind, birds, bees, watch for animals. And I stay out there for about an hour and a half. And sometimes I run. Most of the time I walk, but I'll run. And I try to challenge myself in that time frame. And then when I go to the gym right after that to lift my weights, that's when I try to overcome obstacles. And when I come back to my desk, I've done something to empower myself in the morning that changes the way I look at everything. Sometimes I'll find I'm so calm from that when I sit back down and I have somebody come into my path that's real stressed out and has never tried to realign themselves so that they can allow right now and creativity to come forth. It's not going to come forth while you've got the phone and screaming kids and just pressure, pressure, pressure. You need to, for health reasons alone, to give yourself that time. And when you give yourself that time, all of a sudden, it's like water running over your hair in the shower. You're going to come all of it, an idea is going to come up. And then you're going to want to do something about it. And sometimes before I even get back to my house, I've already initiated something I've been wanting to do for 6 months or how long. And it's right there and it's happening. So anything that you can do to remove yourself from stress and obligation for at least an hour or maybe 2 in the morning. If you have to get up early to do it, do it. And then write it all down. You know, that whole journaling thing. Get yourself a little notebook and keep it by the seat in your car when you come back home. Before you go do anything and lose sight of what you just uncovered, write it all down. You might decide you're going to write your own blogs, and you can at least start an outline. Like, what could I write about? What am I doing? Where am I? Am I doing what I want to be doing or should be doing? You know, you can ask yourself all those questions every day. And when you go to bed at night, this is another thing that I believe is try not to watch TV till you go to bed. Try to sit down with yourself in quietness and remember that the last thing that you see, watch, hear, or digest is what's going to go into your psyche and like make you develop new ideas or to be confusion. And that's why I say never watch a scary movie or a murder mystery and go straight to bed while the TV's on, because you're taking all that turmoil with you. And your brain needs a chance to recoil and chill out and digest what all we give it every day. And we're in this time where it's just so much information all the time. I don't even really think we realize what's happening to us until we stop moving every day. And so I guess my point is, if you really want to make a change or embark on what's in you that you can't get to, you're going to have to take some time to push everything away from you a little bit, even if it's people you care about, because you can't be better to them if you don't feel good about yourself. And to give yourself a chance to do what your body and your mind's supposed to do for your art and for your business and for others, and it will come back all to them and in a better way later. But anyway, that's my point of the day, I guess.
I love that. I love that. I can't tell you guys how big of a difference it will make in your life if you develop a practice of finding some peace every day. This year, I decided to get up and start a morning routine and meditate and do that kind of stuff in the morning. And it's just made a tremendous difference in my life. And I love that that is where you went with those closing thoughts. I think that that's just a beautiful thing. Get out of your environment, get out of the crazy for a little bit, and try to find some kind of peace every single day and just focus on you. Great, great stuff. All right. Unfortunately, guys, we do have to hop off here. I do want to say thank you to everybody who hung out with us today. Brandy, Alexis, Brian, Carolyn, Cindy, James, John, Kelly, Lynn, Maricela, I'm going to try to say the name right, Pam, Stan, Tracy, over on YouTube, Pro Exposure Photography, Sarah, who else we got? Doc and Lloyd, Robert, all of you guys hanging out with us over on YouTube. Thank you guys again so much. Corey Woods, Rocco Lane, Up Close, and Samuel Marshall. Hopefully I said the names right. You guys know you can make fun of me if I got them wrong. But thank you guys again for hanging out with us. Lou, thank you so much for taking the time out to spend the time with us. It's been absolutely fantastic having you here. Guys, don't forget, unfortunately, no more site review Tuesdays. So normally this is where I would say I'll see you on Tuesday. I'll see you guys again on Thursday. Next week, we're going to do Zenfolio Live. We're going to be talking about using packages to, I think the title is packages to increase your sales. I think is what we're talking about. That's going to be next week on Zenfolio Live. If you are watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button. Don't forget, tomorrow is going to be the short tutorial of the post photo shoot workflow that's going to be pushing out on our YouTube channel. So make sure you go check that out. That's going to be published at 2 p.m. I'll see you guys again next week on Thursday for Zenfolio Live. Until then, make sure that you do something positive for somebody, that you encourage somebody, that you lift somebody up, that you help somebody out, and that we all work together to make this world a better place because it could really, really use it right now. Thank you guys. Everybody have a great weekend. Bye, Lou. Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.